Shabbat Shalom. It's nice to sing. I'm curious, how many of you have not been back to a Friday night since we reopened the synagogue? Or maybe have never been to a Friday night at Bethel? First time back, yeah, I was going to say. For some of us, yeah. It's good to see you here. It's good to see all of us here. It's been a challenging week. Already last weekend, as we were thinking about July 4th, many of us had a sense that our celebrations of freedom and independence should be toned down a little bit on the heels of the recent Supreme Court decision impinging on the individual rights of women in this country. But we pressed on. We went to Costco. We bought hot dogs and hot dog buns. I always think of Father of the Bride when I do that. We bought hot dogs and buns and chips and soda and pickles and ketchup and all of the accoutrements for a traditional barbecue. You see, I got French and barbecue in the same sentence. We woke up in the morning, ready to have a nice family breakfast, as I'm sure many of you did, ahead of preparing the house for some company. And then we turned on the news. Many times when these sorts of things happen, some of us say that they hit close to home. And yet, somehow, it's still over there. It's not here. This time was a little bit different. This time, for us, in our house, it was home. You see, we moved to the Twin Cities a year ago last week from Highland Park, Illinois. Our home was less than a 10-minute walk from what the news has called downtown, but what locals call uptown. Downtown was Chicago. My kids, until recently, lived just 5 or 6 blocks from there. Hundreds of our friends and community members were at the parade, forced to take shelter. My kids' classmates were running with their parents. A colleague from a neighboring congregation, whose face greeted me each time I visited there, was murdered in the street. Members of this community, of our community, were also at the parade. I've spoken with them this week. I've heard their stories. I've heard of children who are now too scared to go outside. This time it was personal. So the question is, how do we move forward from this as individuals, as families, as a community, as a nation? How do we respond as Jews in the face of tragedy and of trauma? We respond in several ways. First, we mourn. We mourn the loss of life. We mourn the loss of a sense of safety and freedom. We mourn the loss of what we knew to be a normal childhood for our kids. And then we pray. We pray for healing of body, of soul, of mind, and of spirit, for all those injured, for those who ran, for those who live nearby, and for all of us who are shaken and without words. Then we act. We act by voting for measures and for representatives in government who reflect and represent our highest values, who care more about common good than their careers, and who will do that with which they are charged, to make this country whole again, to keep us safe, to protect us and our children, to rid our country of violence and of evil. We act by giving. We give of our time, if perhaps we are medical or mental health professionals, to all in our community who need someone to talk with. We give of our time to help those who are too scared or otherwise unable to go out. We give of our resources. We send help to families that are left without parents, grandparents, and children, to those who need time away from work to heal, to those who have medical bills and funeral expenses to bear. Then we come together to hold each other, to cry with each other, to pray together, to sing together, and once again to find beauty and joy in life. That's what we're doing here tonight. We gather as a community to celebrate, even in the midst of tragedy. Even when we sit Shiva, we remove our ribbons and set aside the rituals of mourning for Shabbat. We re-enter a space of joy, of celebration, of community for 24 hours. We allow our mourning to become dancing, our sackcloth to become gladness. In a moment, I'm going to sing the 121st Psalm. It asks the question, from where will our help come? The psalmist answers by saying, our help comes from Adonai, maker of heaven and earth. He continues, Adonai is our guardian, our protection at our right hand. By the day the sun will not strike us, nor the moon by night. Adonai will guard us from all harm. God will guard our lives. Adonai will guard our going and our coming, now and forever. I invite you, I'm channeling Cantor Abrams, I invite you to close your eyes and meditate on the music and on the words, to find space for peace and prayer for just a moment. May these words accompany all of us and give us strength. May we know again a time when we can dance and sing and celebrate without fear. But for now, just for these next hours, may we know a Shabbat Shalom, a Shabbat of peace and wholeness for all. Shir lamalot, Esa el ha'arim, me'ayin yavo Ezri. Ezri me'im Hashem, Ose shamayim va'aretz, Al yiten lamot raglecha, Al yanum shomrecha, Hine lo yanum velo ishan, Shomer Yisrael, Hashem shomrecha, Hashem silcha, Al yad yeminecha, Yomam השמש לא יככה וירח בלילה, השם ישמורך מכל רע, ישמור את נפשך, השם ישמור צאתך ובואך מעתה ועד עולם, מעתה ועד עולם. We'll turn our head to the Mariv